Hello, I'm FPX Toycat, and I miss 2012 Minecraft, but unlike most games, I can just play like it's 2012 Minecraft anyway. You don't need to follow this advice yourself, but this I will say, don't make your house a mega build, or what we might call the YouTuber way. In fact, don't make anything in your world bigger or more involved than you want or need it to be. It's the #1 thing I've seen people do that robs their joy from the game, and I have 3 simple reasons to explain why that is, and how you can avoid this happening to you. So I'm going to be working on expanding my tiny cave house that is probably too small for almost 13 years of play, but I'm going to do it because I want to do this, and so I'm going to do so anyway. But let's start with the first and biggest reason why a mega base to start your world is not a good idea, and it's simply that people love to optimize the fun out of their games, and a lot of the times you don't even realize that you're doing it. What do I mean by that? Well, as, gamers, or indeed as normal human beings, it's natural to think that your pathway is from A to C. Your pathway is from starting a world to building a big base anyway, so why not just start by making it right from the get-go? And if you're going to start with a mega base, why not make it something that's grandiose and plan it out for months and years beforehand, or why not make sure that it's absolutely perfect before you ever start? This is a really clever idea, because what's even the point of having that first base if you're just going to replace it anyway, except actually in a video game, the point of the game is not... Oh, how did I look at an Enderman somehow while doing that? In a video game, the point is not actually to optimize the fastest way through it, but to have the most fun. At some point, you have to concede that a video game is not about making the optimal move at any point, even though sometimes that is also the most fun, but actually, a lot of the times in a video game, the most fun thing can be very different to the most optimal thing. And so, oh, hello. As it turns out, the Enderman can get into that part of my chest room, but not into this part, and so I guess I'll just murder him. I don't really like that as an option, but I'll do it right now anyway. But yeah, I think that it's really, really easy to convince yourself that if you're going to be doing something anyway, you might as well just start doing that, but it's a it's a very slippery slope into... Man, this is the weirdest Enderman I've ever seen. He brought me a gift. That's very nice of him. Anyway, so I think that optimizing your way out of fun is the simplest reason why you should be cautious of going straight to a mega build, or even going to a mega build whatsoever. Yes, they are the ones that look the most photogenic. Yes, they are the ones that will get you the most social media, like impressiveness, because they are the ones that are the hardest, but hardest does not mean most funnest for every player all of the time. I like things that are challenges, but most importantly, it needs to be a challenge in a domain that you think you can handle, and if you don't think that, or even if you're just not sure of that, that's a critical problem. Speaking of critical problems, the second thing I'd like to talk about is actually kind of, it's a little less clear and widely known to everyone. I think everyone knows that gamers like to optimize fun sometimes out of their games, but I think that the second point I'd like to raise is one that I got after watching a video from FWhip. So FWhip is actually a friend of a lot of friends of mine. We've never spoken ourselves, but he had a video that kind of went into what I believe to be the opposite of my opinion on the how building works, or what is not cheating, but what is creative building and what is survival building. And his point was that yes, I plan out all my builds in creative, and then I use a mod that allows me to see them in survival. And he, like a lot of people look at that and say, but isn't that a bit strange? But his point that I really ended up agreeing with after watching the entire thing was like, yeah, actually, but this is what every YouTuber does. If you've ever seen a YouTube video that has one of those cinematic shots and thought, whoa, that makes me want to do this myself, it's actually a sign that that YouTuber is using a mod, whether it be Replay, Lightmatica, or the whole host of other ones that exist. It's a sign that they're actually, using some form of tool, which means that if you're not using that tool yourself, it's probably going to be a lot harder, and this is on top of the fact that, yes, you're watching something in a YouTube video by someone who is getting paid for their builds, and therefore can spend far longer on it, or not even just that they can spend far longer on it, that they can justify spending longer. I think that spending 8 hours a day playing a game is perfect for some people, but not for everyone, and so if you are someone who doesn't have the time for a massive mega project, then it's probably not the right time to start one. And even if you do have the time, is it something you actually want to do? Optimizing the fun out of something is one big reason not to, but a second big reason that I would give, by the way, I'm gonna have to slightly rearrange the mountain here, because I want to have like 2 giant looking eyes, and then for my balcony to be in the middle, to kind of be like a nose. We could then work on having a mouth later, but again, what I love about this build is I built it to the scale I wanted it to be, and then I'm slowly expanding and adding it as I want to change it as time goes on. It's my choice at any given point in time, whereas when you have this like unfinished stack of work, it can be really useful if you need to get something done to like constantly be staring at it. I'll be honest, the only way that I end up like the only way I end up throwing out like really big items is if I throw them in my hallway. So every time I see, every time I walk past them, I'm like, that really needs to go out. And then eventually, after seeing it for a week, I'm so sick of it, I throw that away. But do you need to do, would you deliberately choose to do that sort of productivity task in your Minecraft world? I'm not so convinced. By the way, I don't know why there's a big pillar of stone here, so I'm just gonna get rid of at least a couple of the blocks here, and then also we're gonna get rid of all of the blocks over here, and just kind of move the mountain inwards ever so slightly, hopefully without ruining too much of its shape. But yeah, I would say one of the most important things you need to know is that what you see in a video and what you should do in reality are not the same thing. And even the people who if I can say so myself, I feel like a lot of the people at the cutting edge of making these builds will concede like, yeah, this takes a lot of time. This is like hours and hours and hours of effort, and it's amazing to see what people can do with those things. But you don't have to, in the same way that I would say when you watch the Olympics, it's important that you say, yeah, this is the peak of what people are doing, and you can aspire to have something that is like in that same vein. You can aspire to one day get close to it, but if you watch the Olympics and everyone was like, yeah, this is just me going for a casual Saturday run. Honestly, I think anyone could run the 100 meters in 7 seconds, or anyone could run a marathon in under 3 hours. It's actually kind of weird if you can't. Then that is a very different set of expectations that you could have set that would probably lead you to a different place. When I watch really big mega build videos, because I've made my own, to be clear, I covered my entire end in glass, I built an entire ice biome, but these are projects that to me, for my casual playing Minecraft how I want to style, I need to go get 2 birch planks, I guess. In my style of actually enjoying Minecraft, I find them to be fun additions to the world every, few months or so. Every, let's just say 6 months as I'm making up a number. But every now and then I get inspiration for a giant project, and I actually sit and think to myself, like, do I actually want to see this all the way through, or do I just like the idea right now? This is the reason why planning out builds in creative and all that sort of stuff is so important, because you get to see that fast feedback. This is why I have a series of things that I absolutely should not build in survival, but it's also the reason why you can get accidentally fooled into, also I think this is way too far to the left. If my other eye is going to be over there, that means this needs to be in between the eyes. So we'll work out the midpoint between this block and this block and say that the exit's probably going to be like here, right? Yeah, about here is where my actual thing should be. And so we'll fill the rest with some of the stone blocks I picked up and just pretend that that's not there. Like all good, honestly, like all good housekeeping tasks, if you just pretend it's not there, then honestly, you've done most of the job in making it look good. Honestly, I should run a keeping your house clean channel with stuff like that. Anyway, but what's important to note is that the second big reason I would say as to why you shouldn't make a mega build right away, or anything bigger than you actually want, is because it is a big challenge that is a huge undertaking that honestly might be more effort than you assume from looking at it. And the first big reason is the fact that you'll optimize the path away from fun. Also, I don't think I should have this glass be down here if I'm then going to have that up there, right? So I'll move this way inwards, or just like 1 block inwards at least, and then I'll remove this, and yeah, actually, this just about works. Boom. We've now got our start of a balcony, but I want to be able to, like, look out from the balcony and then look at this little enchanted valley. If I spent this many diamonds on making an enchantment table tree and a diamond fungi, then I'd like to at least look at them. So what is my third big argument as to why it is that you shouldn't probably be making builds bigger? Why is it that in the same way your heart can be bigger than your stomach, in some ways your heart can be bigger than your capacity to build? My third big argument is the fact that comparison is the thief of joy, and that lots of things, again, like how watching the Olympics is really, really inspiring to see what humans can do, but should never be taken as as your personal feelings about what you can or should do. I think that in the same vein, so I'll put some, I think I'm going to use, I'm really liking this kind of like classic build style we're going for. So I'm thinking we put some like oak logs around here. and maybe some fences on the side. But I'm not even sure I need the fences. I could just put some doors over here, maybe. But yeah, let's go grab some oak logs, and then let's destroy some more of this. But yeah, I think that one of the biggest and easiest mistakes to make on the internet, where we are constantly being exposed to other people's achievements, because that is the thing they are most likely to post on social media, is even outside of, you know, YouTubers or influencer culture or whatever you want to call it, even outside of these things, you're going to be exposed to far more of people's biggest victories, and you can easily become convinced that this is the norm and not the exception, or at least not the thing that takes a long, long time to achieve. When you... Wait, oh, this is something that needs to be filled in. Perfect. Don't need to look at it. Don't need to think about it. But you know, it can be really easy to convince yourself that, like, oh yeah, everyone is doing crazy stuff all the time. I mean, look at my feed on the social media app. Wow, this makes me kind of sad and makes me want to scroll and look at more, I would say. Is at least what the meta engineers are hopefully getting from you. And ultimately, I think that this isn't just, you know, not necessarily healthy, which it certainly isn't, to be clear. I think it is something that can really rob your perception of what is real. I spent a long, long time struggling. I don't think this is the... I think the term burnt out is used a lot. But I think in a Minecraft sense, I burnt out from making big builds because I wanted to do it a certain way. I don't enjoy pre-planning a build. I like the creative process of finding it out. I like having a very vague idea of, like, yes, I'm going to start with this and we'll see where we go from there. I love the process of being like, ooh, yeah, what is this though? How are we doing that? I genuinely enjoy that process, and I found that I was robbing myself off it because I had to, you know, like, keep up with making, you know, a video every single, you know, like, every single time. I had to keep up with the scale and the etc. that was demanded of me. And so then, as, you know, this was happening, I was like, why even work on the small things? What is the point of adding a silly nose to my... Just to be clear, I want to make sure this looks like a nose. Yeah, what is the point of adding a nose balcony? What is the point of turning my cave house into a face house? What is the point of doing that if it's not going to make some grand YouTube thumbnail? If it's not going to inspire someone to go, wow, Zoicat, you're so awesome. I can't believe how good you are at Minecraft or whatever. If it's, what is the point of doing it? And the point of doing it is because I love to do it. The point of doing anything is because you want to do anything. And so... I need more than 2 fences. Hopefully I've got... Man, I don't have more than 2 fences lying around. It's a good thing I've got some planks and some sticks. And I think that the this kind of idea is so easily lost in the online space. I think that genuinely, very seriously, we can all get trapped in this idea that we are meant to be something that we are not. But the only thing that you can ever say that you are, hopefully, if you're doing life great, is better than you were yesterday. And honestly, that's all I ever aspire for this world to be. As I'm approaching 13 years in it, I just want it to be better than it was. And that means that I don't set myself lofty ambitions, because sometimes those ambitions, or at least I try not to do it too frequently. Again, I don't want to... You might look at my sugarcane farm and say, Toy Cat, that is an example of something being ridiculous. But it was ridiculous because it was fun to say, well, if sugarcane farms get more efficient the more you put next to each other, what's the limit on that? And so it goes sky height to bedrock. But some things just aren't fun, and you need to realize it before you put too much work into it. This house over here is a prime example. My giant nether portal farm is a prime example. Playing enough Minecraft, weirdly, you might think like, well, the more Minecraft you play, the more you must realize what it is that you like about the game. But weirdly, I still sometimes go into a project not knowing, like, is this going to be fun? But certainly by the end, I have a better explanation, I have a better understanding of what is and isn't. And today I think I've come away with, by the way, putting copper golems in here, such a big mistake. The noises bug me. I think I might have to send them all away. But yeah, I think that if there is anything that I would say as my final word for this video, it's that when you see something, you don't need to do something. When you have a grand idea, genuinely, you might benefit from scaling it down. This is the opposite of the advice that you'll hear anywhere else, but, you know, sometimes when you're dreaming big, actually, you might be better off dreaming small. Do you think it'd be... I think it might be cool if we put, like, copper doors there, but I also like the idea of just using oak doors and keeping things old school. Speaking of keeping things old school, as we approach the 13-year anniversary, I have been thinking about some things that I did in my world solely because I was like, yeah, well, this is how it's meant to be done, and how I don't actually like it that way. And so a kind of like trend, if you want to call it that I'm going through in my world, is trying to work out what these things are, and genuinely just slowly removing them again. So one of the examples of this, and this is a silly example of it, but it's like, yeah, I used these buttons on this because I was like, yeah, it looks good, and I was making fun of something, but actually I think it would just look better without these buttons here. What do you think, internet? Both about my idea from this video, but also about the buttons. Ideally leave a comment with both, because then I'll know that you made it to this point in the video. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Let's Play. I will have a special one in the middle of the week to celebrate the big anniversary. But yeah, hopefully this video has connected with you on some level. I love these long talk about a serious topic while we do something very not serious. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be adding a face to this. A little smile underneath this. It's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, I could probably just sculpt the mountain so that goes down and up there. But speaking of going down and up, this video has had a lot of those. I hope not. Anyway, thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!